Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Canard Boulevard. Today, I'm going to tell you an embarrassing story. Coming up. I saw this first on Airplanes of Coffee on Facebook, the Aviation group, and somebody had told this story that they'd heard from somebody, and they said it sounds totally implausible. Nobody would ever do this. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, I did that. So let me tell you the story and explain why it's kind of embarrassing. So for this story, we have to go way, way, way back to November 11th of 1991, almost exactly 34 years ago. I'm a commercial student. I have my private instrument. I'm working on my commercial rating, and as such, I'm doing my commercial cross countries. Now, the Part 141 school that I went to, they would have all their private and instrument students use the planes during the daytime, and then they would have all the commercial students who had to do their long commercial cross-country flights, they would fly the planes at night. And so all of our commercial cross-country flights were done at night. The airplane I was flying was November 687-908. It was a Cessna 152. I looked it up in the registry. I'm trying to find a picture of this airplane. Apparently, it was deregistered in 2015. I couldn't find it in the NTSB records, so apparently it's just vanished. Maybe it's tied down somewhere. The last flight I can see is from 2015. It was in Michigan somewhere. It's probably tied down, abandoned at some airport and rotting away, unfortunately. So for this flight, I was going from Macon, Georgia, Mike Alpha Charlie. I was going from there to McGee-Tyson Airport in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is Tango Yankee Sierra. Generally, I picked for my cross countries, I wanted to go somewhere where I had a reason to go. I don't recall exactly why I was going to Knoxville. However, I do have a vague recollection that I met somebody there and had dinner with them. I'm suspecting that it was actually an old friend of mine who was a World War II B-17 bombardier. He's long since passed, but that's the only person I can think of that I knew in Knoxville. So I suspect that's who I was going having dinner with. It's either that or it was, knowing me, it was probably some pretty girl that I was going to trying to impress, being the big pilot flying the 152, right? So anyway, I went to Knoxville. I had dinner with this person. And the plan was, because the FBO at Knoxville at McGee-Tyson closed at like 6 p.m. or something along those lines, that I was going to fly to Charlie Juliet Echo, which is Putnam County Airport, and that is in Cookeville, Tennessee, and they had 24-hour fuel. So the idea was that I was taking off in the evening, flying up to Knoxville, having dinner, after dinner, getting to the airplane, and then flying to Cookeville, and then from there, overnight back down to Macon Smart in Macon, Georgia. That was the plan. So I got back to the airport after dinner at McGee-Tyson, and the first thing I noticed was that it was very cold and my wings were covered in frost. When you have frost on your wings, you don't fly because the frost will disrupt the airflow over the top of the wings and it can cause you to crash. So it's icing. You don't fly with frost on the wings. I didn't really have anything. I tried like a credit card, but it was just too big. So what I ended up doing was taking my fuel tester and I drained fuel out of the sumps and I flung it across the top of the wings and then wiped it with a rag, which dissolved enough of the frost that I got rid of the frost on the top of the wings and on the horizontal stabilizer so that the airplane could be flyable. So this took me probably half hour, 45 minutes, and it was cold. Got in the airplane, took off for Putnam County Airport, and I believe it was only maybe half-hour flight. So I get to Putnam County, I land at Putnam County, and it's dark. I taxi up to the FBO, lights are off, there's nobody there. It's supposed to be 24-hour fuel. There was no self-serve fuel back then. So I'm thinking I'm in trouble here because I don't have enough fuel to get pretty much anywhere else, and I'm close to mountains and it's nighttime. So I get out my sectional and my AFD and I'm trying to find an airport that might have fuel 24 hours and that is within flying distance within my fuel range, and I'm just finding nothing. So I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna have to sit here until somebody shows up in the morning and get fuel. So that's what I did. I huddled up inside this little 152 and tried to sleep, and it didn't really work that well because it was really cold. It was below freezing, and as I would sit there, I'd fall asleep sitting bolt upright on these uncomfortable 152 seats. And as I'd fall asleep until I got so cold that I would shiver and wake myself up from shivering. And then I would start the engine in the airplane and get heat coming into the cabin until I stopped shivering and got a little bit warm. And I shut the engine off and then I'd try to sleep again. And I did that all night long. So I did not get the best night's sleep. And even though I'm 21, 22 years old, I'm still not doing so well because I'm pretty tired. 6 a.m. I get woken up, somebody knocking on the outside of the airplane. He says, "You all right in there?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just tired. I was waiting for the fuel guy." He's like, "Oh God, that's me." So apparently this guy who was supposed to be the 24-hour fuel at this Putnam County airport, at 10 o'clock decided, well, there's nobody coming in here tonight. I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriend for the night. So he just took off, and I sat there on the ramp as a result. So 6 a.m. he shows up, fuels up the airplane. I warm up, re-scrape all the ice off the wings again, all the frost, and off I go for Macon, Georgia to get back to the airport. And it's still dark. It's still dark out at this point. And I am freezing cold and I'm really tired. And as I get up, I'm flying south and I'm heading towards Chattanooga, that kind of direction. And I get the heat on and it's getting warm and the sun is starting to come up. And as the sun is coming up and I'm getting warmer and more sleepy, and I'm like, I gotta wake up. I had a radio with me and I had this blue like Sony boombox thing with like a dual cassette tape in it, and I used to bring it along and I turned up really loud. I could hear it through my headphones and it was something to listen to on these long flights in the 152. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll put this up right in front of me on the glare shield. It'll keep me engaged. I can listen to the music and that'll keep me awake. So that's exactly what I did. I had the radio up on the glare shield and I'm flying along and I have my extensive instrumentation in these Cessnas. I had a VOR. That's it. One VOR, no ADF, no nothing, one single VOR, and I'm doing dead reckoning, really. I know which direction to go. I'm, almost a commercial pilot at this point. I know how to navigate back to middle Georgia. So here I am flying along, the sun's up, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting close that I should start recognizing things around here because I've been flying around this area for over a year now, and I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, I'm not recognizing much here, and so maybe I'm just not as far as I have thought I've got yet. Maybe I got a bit of a headwind, so I gave it another 10-15 minutes. I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, I'm really not recognizing where I am now. Okay, you know what? Okay, I got to start paying attention here instead of just sitting back and listening to the radio and waiting for the flight to be over. I need to pay attention because something's not right here. Something in the back of your head says, yeah, something's not right. Okay, stop screwing around. Take the radio down. Let's pay attention to what we're doing. So I take the radio off the glare shield, and as I do, I'll watch the compass go whoop, about 90 degrees. I'm like, oh no. The speakers in the radio have big magnets in them, and that was sitting right next to the whiskey compass on top of the glare shield, and the speakers were obviously swinging the compass. So now I have been going off 90 degrees. What I thought I was doing, I was going off to the west. Now I am off the sectional chart that I have. I have no idea where I am. And I've been flying like this for at least an hour. I don't really know what direction I was going. And I, of course, had slaved my DG to the magnetic compass, so I didn't know that it was going wrong. I could dial up VORs, but what VOR do I dial up? Because I don't know where I am. So I'm thinking, okay, if I go this way, if I went this way, maybe it's this one here, and I'm trying all these different VORs, nothing's coming in, nothing's making sense. I'm looking at my fuel, and I'm thinking, I need to get fuel soon. So I just started flying along and looking for airports until I finally, oh, there's one there. Okay, well, and I did one of those typical student pilot things. Went in, landed at this airport, walked up to the FBO and like, where am I? And where I was Alexander City, Alabama. I think it was Alpha Lima X-ray. And so I refueled again, bought a sectional for that area because I was off the sectional, and then headed back to Macon. Got back to Macon, I think about 10 in the morning. And I was tired. I think I had maybe a total of 1.5, 2 hours sleep the night before. and went to bed. Anyway, so that's my story. And the story, of course, in the Facebook was somebody who'd put a radio up on the glare shield and swung the compass and done exactly that. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, yep, been there, done that. Anyway, have you done something like this? Do you have a embarrassing aviation story to tell? I've only ever told this story to a few people before, and now I've shared it with you, so it's out in the open. If you've done something like this in the past, leave your story in the comments section below. If you like this kind of video, click like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.